Good evening, everyone. It is now 7:30, so we will get started. And I know that when we've done these throughout the evening, people join, people drop off. So, we will answer questions until we hit a point where either it hits 8:30 and we decide hey, that's enough. 1 hour of questions is a long time. But if we have a stopping point before that and doesn't seem like we have any more questions, we'll adjourn for the evening. So, welcome to everyone. Chad Lewis, superintendent. I'm going to let my colleagues unmute and introduce themselves. Hopefully, you know these individuals, but maybe you don't. But if not, they will be happy to unmute and introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. My name is Janelle Shunk, and I am the principal at Sycamore Junior High.
Dr. Crenshaw.
Hello, everyone. Dr. Princess Crenshaw, assistant principal at the high school.
Mr. Cole.
And Greg Cole, the principal at Green School, the 5th and 6th grade building.
Mr. Porter, I know I saw you pop on. Do you want to hold on? Let me get you set up. Say hello to the people at home. Can you unmute?
Good evening, friends and family. Taylor Porter, high school principal. Really happy to see you guys, and my trusted colleague and good friend, Dr. Crenshaw, is going to do a lot of the leading tonight for the high school. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you all.
All right, so the chat is open. We will be keeping an eye on questions. The first question I'm going to ask our colleagues to respond to is just, can you talk? And we're going to start with Mr. Cole, and then we'll work our way up from the 5th grade, 6th grade building all the way up to the high school building. Talk about how do you help students with the transitions from elementary to green school to the junior high to high school? What are some of the things that we have in place to make those transitions easier for our learners?
That's a great question. Obviously, our transition is unique because we have 4 elementary schools coming into our school. And so we have to try to form the upcoming class of 2033 has to kind of unify. And so what we've been doing is we work with our elementary schools. We have a parent information night coming up on April 24th, where we will talk about the differences between green school and elementary schools. We'll talk about the schedule, about teaming, about activities, about what our philosophies of the building are. And then the elementary school students will all come over in May, one school at a time. So they'll get a chance to see the building, meet some of the students, meet some of the teachers. In the summer, we have a program called Green 101, where there's 2 days, but the students will sign up for one day. We have a Get Connected Day, which is very similar to what the other schools have as far as getting some of the information for the year. I was meeting with a PTO today, and this was a parent-generated idea from a coffee talk we had in the fall. They were wondering how the students who are going to eventually be on the red team or the yellow team, how they can meet with each other beforehand, because each team is really made up of 1/4 from each elementary school. And so they just want to make sure that they have some friends, people to meet with, do activities with, eat lunch with. And so we're working on trying to come up with a way to have a gathering time before school starts, so kids can meet each other. So when they see each other on the first day of school, that they have somebody to eat lunch with, somebody to go to class with. And so we're really excited about that new opportunity.
Okay, so at the junior high, as the 6th graders, we're preparing for those 6th graders. We start pretty early. We had a open house for the 6th graders back in February. Mr. Cole, correct me if I'm missing anything, okay? We had that open house for them where families and the kids could come through, and we just opened it up. We answered a lot of questions that night, kind of gave them an overview of what are the differences between the green school and the junior high. We are also bringing the 6th graders up in May. And so they're going to get the opportunity to again tour. And, a similar problem, or I guess thing that we're trying to work through, is how do we get the kids that are on various teams at Green to now interact and meet each other because Greg is pulling together kids from 4 different elementaries. Sometimes kids don't have the opportunity to really befriend and get to know all of their peers because of the teaming situation. And so next year, what we're planning to do in the fall, and we'll start this in May, is kind of some forced interaction. And so we want to be able to put the kids that are on different teams into the same space to learn about each other and get them interacting. And so we just had a meeting today with our counseling team who's going to be leading that work in May. And then in transitions, we'll have transition days in the fall. Kids are going to get to experience the building without 8th graders in the building. And so they're going to be able to get to navigate and get lost and ask all the questions and not feel intimidated by the 8th graders in the building. And then, we'll do all of our normal open house events as well. And then we have our 8th graders going off to the high school. So they're going to go visit Miss Crenshaw up at the high school. And so we started that process back in November. Our 8th graders were invited to pizza with the principal at the high school. They did a really, really fun activity where we took the entire 8th grade to the high school in January. They got to do some tours and some team building. Ms. Crenshaw can talk a little bit more about that. And then we also are bringing in counselors from the high school. So the high school counselors have met with every single 8th grader to prepare them for that transition and make sure that academically they're in a place where we're able to succeed. And I failed to mention that we also did that with the 6th graders. So our counselors go to Green as well to work with those counselors. So the transition, while it's a short, quick period at the start of the year, we're really putting a lot of measures in place for months and months and months ahead of time as well. So Dr. Crenshaw, I'm going to kick it off to you.
Thank you. So as Mrs. Shunk said, we've been doing this since November. I think what some of the students are still talking about most are the awesome pep rallies that they got to experience. And that is plural because yes, all in one day, students get to experience 2 pep rallies. And that's for them to know how much pride that we take in our experience in being aviators, how excited that we are about all the opportunities that there are to offer. So that's the one thing that we rally behind the most is building relationships and getting students extremely excited about transitioning to the high school because it's going to be an amazing experience. On their first day of school, they'll have the opportunity to be there by themselves and with other new students to allow them to learn their transitions and things of that nature. And also, as Ms. Shunk spoke of, we have been down to the junior high, just making as many contacts as possible throughout the year so that they see these familiar faces, so that once they come to the high school, we are not strangers to them. So we are going to keep that up in our final month of school. But absolutely, again, just reiterating how excited we are to have them transition with us at the high school.
So we're going to go to our chat. We've got some questions that are rolling in. So thank you everyone for starting to ask those questions. Dr. Crenshaw, the first question that came in is around the high school cell phone policy. And, there was a lot of discussion about the cell phone policy and we had to comply with the state mandate. And the question was specifically, why did we roll back the cell phone policy versus the more stringent policy that we were originally considering? Do you want to talk about just instructional time versus non-instructional time and how those decisions played out?
Yes. Well, first, we recognize that we missed a very vital piece in our process, and that was the student voice. Yes, we had reached out to parents a lot, and we knew what the law said, but we missed the opportunity to get our students in front of us and really hear what they had to say. And by hearing them, we were able to see that they are ready to handle certain circumstances when it is non-instructional time and all the different things that they are doing when they interact on their devices, whether it is checking in, as well as the times that they do have in the academic setting to use their devices, if that is the means in which the teacher needs to use. The students have been doing great with this. They have understood, they're taking accountability, and it has been great as well with our freshmen. They have been able to lead the effort because Mrs. Shunk, this is what they were already doing in the 8th grade. So once we were able to hear our students and align ourselves with their voices, I feel like at this point in time, we're halfway there already. And with our new 8th graders coming up, that's even more students that already have it down packed.
And I will say, Dr. Crenshaw, when I've been in the building, I noticed from previous to winter break to after winter break, the amazing difference in the number of students that were not on phones, not utilizing phones. And so I know the instructional time process is working, because when I walked into one of the classes the other day, they were all in pouches. So we understand the research that is out there about the negative impact of cell phone use. And I know that I see it in my own house, with just when they're grounded off their phones, they're like different people. It's so great. So we will certainly do our best to minimize their screen time, but certainly we worked with our students and found some opportunities during non-instructional times. And so that was the reason, I think, for the rollback. So I'm going to jump in on question number 2, guys, because I don't feel like you guys get to make these decisions. But the question is it coming in about later start times. You know, it's proven that the research has shown that it's important, and that Loveland recently did this. So I will directly answer that. I'm very close with Loveland's superintendent. The biggest difference between Loveland and Sycamore is Loveland does not provide high school busing. The minute that you don't provide high school busing, you can move the start time wherever really you want, because it's not dependent on our bus schedule. So I completely agree. I would love to figure out a way to have our high schoolers come in later. And we are currently working on a SAC research project on that, but we're also having a lot of conversation internally about how do we make that work, because we run 3 tiers of transportation. And so we would have to move somebody else to an earlier tier. Now, the common sense thing is, who's the first people awake in your house? It's the youngest students. But I don't know about you guys, but I don't feel real good about kindergartners standing at the bus stop at 6:30. So it's a push pull, tug and try to figure it out. But I agree. I think any minutes that we could do to make our high school start time later would be a positive. And I agree that at some point we just kind of have to rip the Band-Aid off and do it. So another question that came in regarding just in general racial slurs being used in our schools. I don't know if any of you have a reaction to just racial slurs being used and how you're addressing that, and what's our disciplinary action for that. Mr. Cole, I saw you shaking your head, so maybe, I don't know if you want to jump in on that first. If they have any other comments, certainly your colleagues can join in.
Yeah, we've tried to head this off, and so we put out communication to families. We do live video morning announcements. We've been in our pods talking about the language that is not acceptable at any time by any person, anywhere. And every time we have a conversation, and again, not that it's supremely frequent, but when you have the opportunity to talk to a parent of a student who's used a word or who has had a word used with them, we always reach out and say, we're trying to find ways to understand better how to provide education around this. I think that in general, the students know that there are words that they shouldn't be using. Obviously, it's very difficult for 10 to 12-year-olds to fully understand the context sometimes of the terms that they're using. And so we do issue discipline. We try to pair it with education as best as we can around the age that's age appropriate. So again, we're trying to communicate and inform as broadly as we can, but we definitely would appreciate help and suggestion.
Any other comments?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I was just going to say, I would echo what Mr. Cole is saying. In our building, we try to approach it from an educational standpoint as well. And we're talking to kids about it. Actually, Superintendent Lewis and I have it's called the Star Council. They're an advisory group that meets with the 2 of us each month. And they actually brought this topic to us, saying that they wanted to address it as a student leadership group, because they're hearing just curse words being used in the hallway that makes them feel uncomfortable. And so they, as a student group, have asked us for permission to figure out a way to address it school wide. And, in their words, they wanted to create a environment where it's just not acceptable. They wanted to create, and are interested in creating an environment where it's uncomfortable to use those words because it's not accepted. And so it was really encouraging to hear that kids also want this change. And Mr. Cole and I have spoke recently about how do we handle this from a disciplinary standpoint. As far as race goes, and I think all three of our buildings, it's not tolerated, and we take it to the farthest extent that we can with disciplinary measures. It's not going to be tolerated. It's not appropriate to use any words that are harmful to others. And we are, I think, prepared and have shown that we have a hard stance against any racist terms. I will say the families that have the best change that we see in their kids that use these words are approaching it also from an education standpoint. So I had an amazing family who took their child to volunteer at a Jewish synagogue to really educate them on the context of things. And that was a really powerful moment for me to hear that, that there's multiple layers to kids really understanding the gravity of the words that they're using, and that it takes a village, right? And we're happy to be part of yours. But it takes all of us having the same message to really make the biggest impact we can.
So another great question that came in, and I think it's appropriate coming off of that question, based on what you as administrators are seeing in the buildings, what do you feel are the biggest areas of opportunity for parents to help out and support us in the house, in the home? Anybody? Oh, Dr. Crenshaw, go ahead.
Right now, I would definitely say vaping. I think right now it appears, or the conversation is that it's school, but as Janelle was just saying, it's community, it's the village. So I think it's an all hands on deck situation, and going back to that educational piece of teaching our students of what it is that they are putting into their bodies, that there's not enough research about the side effects and things of that nature. To have conversations with students. Are we self-medicating, to really dig deep and see what is there? So I would really like to see us as a community really rally together and rise to the occasion, and really put an all hands on deck effort to see how we all address vaping in our schools.
And I'm going to jump in with Dr. Crenshaw just from a vaping standpoint. I just want you as parents to be aware, from a secondary standpoint, it is a big deal when our students are using and not using vapes. You can see visibly the difference in who they are, and how they react and how they perform in school. So we have added some additional staffing to monitor restrooms and to be present near restrooms. We're adding additional vape sensors. We are looking, and I just got a proposal today to add a substance abuse counselor to be at school every day to support our students that struggle with this addiction, because we need to help them get over this addiction. And I heard a statistic, I don't know the accuracy of that statistic, but that it takes 7 times before they can kick the habit, that they have to approach it 7 different times to want to quit. And that's a lot. So I hope that's not a real statistic, but I do think we have to look at what can we do from a school standpoint, a community standpoint to support it. And, don't be naive. Check your kids' stuff and rooms, and make sure that you look into whether or not that they're doing it, because I think I've heard from some parents that thought their kids would never do that they were indeed participating in vaping. So, Mr. Cole, anything from the Green School?
Yeah, I think one of the unique opportunities we have at Green is that we hand the students a Chromebook, right? And so as fifth graders, when they come in, we give them access to an amazing learning device. One of the things that obviously that comes with, there's a lot of responsibility in learning how to use that appropriately at school, appropriately at home. And so we've been working with Mr. Long just to look at some of the data around how our students are using the laptops, what are they doing after school. And so last year, along with handing out the Chromebook to the fifth graders, we also handed out instructions on how to log into Parent Blocksy, which again gives parents the tools to help put some parameters just like you might around a cell phone. And then this year, for next year, Mr. Long and I are going to work on putting together a sheet that can be a conversation point with families. And so just for those who don't know, I've got a kid at the high school and the junior high. And so we've added cell phones, and I've got, two kids who are trying to manage their time at home with screens and things like that. And so what are the intentionality is to help support a conversation between the families and the student about where are we plugging it in, right? Where does it get stored? What amount of time should we be on it? What is it useful for? Just because I know that sometimes, especially as a parent, as you're gaining access to technology, it can be a lot to try to figure out what works for your family. So we're going to try to provide additional support with that. But again, for families, just understanding that our age level, there's not hours and hours of homework. And so if your student's on their laptop for more than 30 minutes at home, it might be worth just reaching out. Just because, again, we want to build really good habits. We want them to be reading books. We want them to be out playing with their friends. We want them to be doing all the things that, the kids should be doing at that age and not have that screen be an impediment. And so that's something that we could use support with is what additional education programming we can provide to help support families with that.
Mrs. Shunk, any additional items on that?
The first thing that kind of jumped out at me was something that happened earlier this year. And I think about, developmentally where kids are at when they're between the ages of 12 to 15. So those are the ages of 7th to 8th grade. They are learning for the first time about independence. They're learning how to interact with peers. They're sometimes appropriately not being supervised because they're hanging out more independently. They're walking to Dairy Queen or La Rosa's after school. And they're engaging with lots of different peers in different ways. And so, from a parental perspective, helping your child to navigate that helps us at school to help them to navigate that. And so, while we want to increase independence at this age and how incredibly important it is to increase independence at this age, it's also important for us as parents and educators to come alongside kids and teach them really directly how to interact without adult supervision around. How do you interact in a restaurant appropriately? How are you interacting in your community and in stores correctly when there isn't an adult there to provide that interaction or to facilitate that interaction? Same with peers. What does it mean to have a conflict with a peer, and what is an appropriate way to solve that conflict without necessarily an adult presence? And it's really, from a home standpoint, it's really just about dialogue. You're just talking to your kids. What did that interaction feel like? How could you have handled that better? How could you do that differently next time? Or great job. I love how you did that. I love how you interacted with that, and just praising them and being intentional with the words that you're using to reinforce the behaviors that we do want to instill in them, and behaviors that help to support our community.
Great. Thank you, all three of you, on that question. Mr. Cole, this next question is for you. It's specific to Green School, just about 5th and 6th graders. It sounds like they're going to be going through a lockdown drill on Friday. And, for kids in your school, they've experienced the drills in elementary. And I think, we try to obviously make our drills age appropriate, but can you kind of discuss what can the parents expect for the kids to experience? What kind of safety drills do you do? What does that kind of look like so that they know from a parental standpoint how to prepare their kids?
That's a great question. Over the last couple of years, while I was at the junior high, we worked on some tabletop safety drills where the staff would have an opportunity to just discuss some issues in the safety of a classroom with a student. And so what we did is we worked with our school resource officer and adopted the program that we were using at the junior high for the Green School. Again, like you said, to make it more age appropriate. And so some of the questions we might have asked a 12 to 15-year-old, we put it more on the level of our students. So what they're going to experience on Friday is that, and we've done some training and shared information with staff. The staff has had an opportunity to preview the resources. We talked about at a staff meeting. We're going to come on the announcements. We're just going to explain what's going to happen. That we're just going to ask the students to go to their classroom. The teachers are going to close the door. There's going to be a video that I made that's just going to explain some of the terminology about a shelter in place, or which again is explaining that if there's something that's going on in the community and we just need to restrict people entering and leaving the building, if we have to lock down in the classroom, which again could be for a medical emergency in the hallway, or something that we just need to keep students in the class and keep our hallways free, or an evacuation. And what we did with that one is we just talked about it, how it was very similar to a fire drill, right? That we've practiced exiting the building. And so those are the terminology that will be used. The teachers will ask the students to think about in their classroom where their location is, what multiple different exits there are from their classroom, from their location. One of the things we've been practicing this year with our fire drills is we worked with the staff to have them find alternate exit points from their fire drill. So on our second fire drill, I told them ahead of time that we are going to close off a stairwell. We just want you to redirect your students. And we thought that was an easy way to help people start thinking about how to be safe in our building. And so if I was a parent of this age group, on Thursday, tomorrow, we're going to do a tornado drill, first one of the year. And then on Friday, we're doing the safety drill. It's really just thinking about when I'm in class, listening to the teacher who has some instructions on how to keep me safe. We're going to use the communication over the building to share the information they have very clearly so that everybody knows what to do. And then just to participate in the class discussion around what are some exit points. One of the questions on there that they'll be asked is if we come over the announcement and it says shelter in place, what does that mean right now? It's kind of a review that you would have if you just had a class discussion, and the class would then say, well, that means that we're going to have indoor recess, but we can still move between our classes, just so that they can kind of recognize. So we're going to always be clear with communication. We are purposefully keeping this not about moving furniture. We're not focusing on intruders. We're just talking about how we can change how we move around the building in case there are situations where we have to do that.
Sounds good. Another question came in. I'll happily jump in and take this one. It was just about, can we get the old parent portal app back? Canvas, I'm having troubles with Canvas, and I've asked multiple people for help. Unfortunately, this has been a long process to get to using Canvas. And really, it's gone through a lot of vetting and testing. And so my comment would be, if you're still having trouble with Canvas, we do have a help desk that you can contact, and you can even come in and we have individuals that can give you a training. Mr. Gutermuth is excellent at helping parents and staff members and anyone that's struggling with the use of it. We definitely want our parents to feel informed. The issue and the why we selected one is we were using too many different platforms to all do the same thing. So we wanted to get on one page with one platform. So please contact Mr. Gutermuth or our help desk. Our tech team is amazing. They're happy to jump in and help. Let's see. Here we go. Dr. Crenshaw, this one is about high school students. Heard some feedback from students that priority and attention is not on equal footing in terms of interests, clubs, and opportunities. How are you ensuring that all students feel as though they are in an inclusive environment for them?
Okay, so one of the things that we do is we start with our club fair that we do in the middle of the day that all students have access to go and learn about all the different clubs that we currently have available. And we also make sure that they are aware of how they start their own club if they want to. So they would bring that idea alongside with a possible sponsor with an adult in our building to get that club started. And we've seen lots of clubs each year start based on student ideas. So that is the feedback that we do want to hear. So we want those students to come to us specifically about the things that they think that they don't see, so we can guide them in the right direction, or we can help them create the opportunities that they want to see.
And Dr. Crenshaw, do you have a sense of how many clubs and activities we offer at the high school? I know we're up to, I think we're in the 40s of the number of like sport opportunities. I wouldn't even have an idea of choir and theater and all the different ones there, but do you have any idea of just clubs?
I know over 70 clubs. I don't know if Mr. Corteil jumped on, but I know that it is high, and we do not have a cap on experiences for our students.
That's great. Thanks for always working hard to meet students where they want to be. I know there's a tea club at the high school. So, and people are like, well, what's the tea club? They meet and try different teas. So,
Yep. Come find out.
I know one time there was a buffet club. Mr. Cole, I think we would have been in for that one, right? Hitting some buffet action. Not so much anymore. There's not many buffets left anywhere. So, I'm going to start with Mrs. Shunk on this one, and just because there's a piece of it that's yours as well. And you're probably going to be really excited to talk about this because it really falls probably outside the scope of junior high principal, but I'll start with that one. That's a fun one to start with. Has there been an improvement in the loitering behavior issue that in Blue Ash, down by La Rosa's and Dairy Queen, because you had to send out some communication? I think you and Officer Cassim went down there. So can you give us an update on how our junior high students are faring out in the community?
Yeah, so just to give context to that, a couple of our Blue Ash community businesses reached out, said that some students were enjoying their friends, and sometimes we know that because of that, unintentionally, kids can become disruptive in spaces. And so it speaks back to a little bit of what I was talking about that independence that we're trying to foster. Officer Cassim and I went down, and Officer Cassim has been a couple other times as well. We have not heard from the businesses since we put some supportive measures and education in place. And so we're hoping that that means that no news is good news, and that students are working well with our businesses and being good stewards of the community. We did go down, we educated a few kids on how to wait in line for a waitress before they get seated, instead of going and picking out their seat in the Rosas. And so by all accounts, we hope things are going good. As the weather gets warmer, I think that is going to be the true test, because that's when we're going to have kids going down a lot. It's been rainy and cold. And so we're going to keep an eye on the weather and, go down as needed. I know Mr. Cole is in for that as well, to come over, and I'll buy you a blizzard, Mr. Cole, as long as we can keep our community partners and our kids happy.
If that's going to be if that's going to be the help cost, I mean, I'm happy to come down for a blizzard. I mean,
Count me in.
who doesn't want that? There was a question that came in about a personnel matter. I would ask, if you have a question about a particular personnel matter, this is not the forum that I would be willing to talk about a personnel matter. We've had other forums and conversations about that. Feel free to give me a call at the office any day, or send me an email, and with a good contact information, I'd be happy to talk with you further about personnel matters that I'm allowed to talk about. So. Another junior high question. Why did the junior high remove food, family, and fashion as an elective option? Mrs. Shunk, are you aware of that? Is that something we had and didn't have on? I don't know if that was in your tenure or not. So
that was not in my tenure. Mr. Cole attended Sycamore Junior High School. Mr. Cole, did you take that class?
I did not take that class at Sycamore Junior High School. Although if you remember, the old building had the English class that had the kitchen in it. I would wonder if that was maybe the home of the food and fashion class. So
So the electives that we do have are, I can't speak to why that class is no longer offered, but we offer a large number of STEM classes. So this year we added a medical detectives class, which we're very excited to bring. It kind of partners with a science class at the high school. We added a leadership class, so it's leadership exploration and development. We're calling it LEAD, and that class is going to be really unique in working with students to develop some of those soft skills that are going to lead them particularly into corporate world, and it's going to pair really nicely with the DECA program at the high school. We have a news crew class. We have a tech solutions class where kids learn how to code computers. Art, always, we have 3 different levels of art classes, all of our music electives, and then of course our PE classes.
Awesome. Thanks for that. This one is just a general school safety question. And, there was a question that was, and the person's just saying, I really enjoyed the question. It was brought up during the board meeting yesterday, and it was just during public comment, and how vulnerable that we can be at times when we're having school events. Or, we have our doors open for various events. The questions that came up at the board meeting is, why don't we have police officers present at different events or extra security at times? And I'll be happy to start, and if you guys have anything else you want to add. Just the question is, has there been any thought of how to protect students and families during these times? And I'll just say, there isn't a day that goes by that myself and my colleagues don't think about school safety, event safety, keeping kids safe, keeping adults safe. It keeps me up many, many nights. I worry about our kids when they're on spring break. I worry about our kids when they're on trips overseas. I worry about them when there's fires in airports and they can't get home. I have all those worries. So I wish there was a perfect answer, but the only way that we can ensure kids in our buildings are completely secure and safe is to keep the adults out and not have large scale events. And that's not school. That's not community. That's not what we're here to do. We have to have some inherent trust in the people that we employ, that they've got their eyes and ears open. We've got kids that alert us to things that they see and hear. We have to hope and pray that we have enough security and safety in place that we can catch things before they happen. But just as you can't predict that someone in Kroger might not do something that they shouldn't be doing, or at a restaurant, we can't predict that at school either. We can't predict it at a school event. What I will tell you, what maybe doesn't happen at restaurants and Kroger's is, as you heard Mr. Cole talk about, we prepare. We have police in our buildings at all times. You don't even know most of the times when we do have police in there. Police stop by and just walk through our buildings during the day. Blue Ash and Montgomery and Hamilton County Sheriff's Office are amazing to work with. We are so fortunate to have such good police relations. And so I can only say we've done a ton of training. Even at one point, we brought the head of security from the Cincinnati Reds in to talk to us about large scale events and how do you protect people in large scale events. So all we can do is do preparation and keep having conversations and training, but we can't predict what may or may not happen. All we can do is be prepared. And I know that's hard because I have that same feeling. People ask me at restaurants why I won't sit in certain places, why I have to have a seat that faces the door. It's called preparedness. I want to be able to get me and my family out if a former employee comes in upset at their former boss. I mean, you have to think through, and it's scary to have to think that way, but that's the world we live in, is you've got to think preparedness at all times. So I don't know, any other comments from you guys on school safety, or is that pretty much capture it? All right, we'll keep going because questions are flying in now. Here's just one that's just kind of a react to. Would it be possible to send any email that requires parents to register kids for camps, events, Anything requiring money to be sent at the end of the day or later. Often these emails come in the middle of the day, and our parents are not able to register their kids quickly enough before registration fills up. So I don't know, that may just be good feedback for you guys to think about. Excuse me, if you can plan for that. Can you talk about the merging of the current 7th grade honors math and accelerated math for 8th grade next year?
I can't. I'm trying to picture the flow chart in my head. The math pathway is interesting. So the question, repeat the question again, Mr. Lewis.
Sure. Oh gosh, where'd it go? There it is. Can you talk about the merging of the current 7th grade honors math and accelerated math for 8th grade next school year?
Okay. So accelerated math for 8th grade is algebra, and our Math 7 honors class is a hybrid class where kids are getting both 7th grade and 8th grade curriculum in 1 year, meaning that they are now at the end of this year ready for Algebra 1. And so the students that are in Math 7 honors will be moving into Algebra 1 honors next year, and the students that are a double accelerated math would be in algebra next year as well. And so we will be offering and kind of merging what was algebra accelerated and algebra honors is now going to be one class. There's multiple reasons for that, but mainly, algebra standards are algebra standards. The algebra end of course exam that is required for the high school graduation credit is one test. And so it's really a matter of differentiating for kids. And that's the case of all classes, right? And so we have a consultant from Hamilton County that is starting work with our algebra teachers. Actually, in just 2 weeks, they're going to be pulled for a half day and another half day later in the month to really hone in on what does that merge look like and how are we going to meet the needs of all kids. So it's a product of conversations that are happening at the high school with math curriculum. It's a product of our curriculum revisions that have happened over the last 2 years. And then it's a product of creating more equitable outcomes for kids. So we feel really good about the change and think that the kids that are in that pathway are going to be really successful.
Great. Thank you, Mrs. Shunk. There was a question I had to get a little help with, so I skipped it and I'm coming back to it. The question was, with the increased autonomy the students have at these secondary schools, we're at times having challenges with students remembering to submit assignments, projects, etc. In doing research on Canvas, it appears that some of the functionality around setting up reminders go off during the day is disabled for students and parents. Is there a consideration for allowing that functionality or features on Canvas to help our students leverage technology to build self-management skills? I can tell you none of the people on this call probably knew the answer to that question. I'm guessing they're all smiling and they're like, thank you for not saying that. So our tech director gave me a little help on the side that he was not aware that those were on, but wonders if those notifications going off during the day would be disruptive to students in class. So if teachers set up due dates on assignments, students should be able to get notifications and adjust their calendar preferences accordingly. Parents should be able to do the same. Possibly an alternative are if students are wanting to remember questions that they want to ask during the day, they could send the email. But basically, it's part of an executive functioning skill that we're taught or that we're trying to teach our students. So trying to help them with that self-management skills is certainly an area of development. And honestly, I know from my own standpoint, that's probably why I will say 7th and 8th grade has been hugely helpful for my oldest son, because it is nice that he has to be held accountable to himself to get ready for high school. I'm still nervous about high school, and don't worry, as parents, we all worry about our kids going to high school, but I have full confidence in the people to take good care of them and get them to where they need to be. Mrs. Shunk is almost through one Lewis son, and and she doesn't even ever see the other one probably ever. So we're almost through the junior high with learning those skills for ourselves. So this one, we're going to break this into a two-part question because Greg, you're the oldest, and I want to say the most veteran of us on the call. So we're going to make you, even though this is not about anything that probably is your responsibility, we're throwing it at you anyway. That's the best part of this call. It's the best part of moderating. I get to throw questions at them and they can't say no. So can you comment on why the 8th grade DC trip was stopped 15 years ago? Mr. Historian, do you know the answer to that question?
No, I did go on it as a student. I went on it as a staff member. I think that, taking large numbers of students that they did it's super complex and complicated. And so I'm not sure if it was 15 years ago that it stopped. I don't know how long ago it was, but I know that was one of the big things that we had talked about at the junior high. And I think Ms. Shunk really led the effort on what are the things that junior high students should be doing and how can we make sure that happens? And so she provided a ton of leadership and just thinking about that junior high experience. And so, the DC trip is one of them. There was a number of things that she and her team has done a great job about making sure that the students get, again, the DC trip is something that, almost probably every junior high in America does. Right. And so, our students deserve that. And I just appreciate that she's working to make that happen.
So then, Mrs. Shunk, the next part of the question, and he may have stolen your thunder. What made you restart it? And he kind of answered it.
But Mr. Cole made me restart it.
Mr. Cole
loved that trip. The former social studies teacher. Mr. Cole is being really gracious. This was all his effort. He sat down with the social studies team. He met with vendors. He vetted different proposals from vendors. I had the easy job of saying, yes, let's provide this opportunity for kids. So it was really Mr. Cole in conjunction with Mr. Rodriguez, who is our social studies department chair. He is now leading this work. He is the one organizing the trip. He put together an agenda. He put together a committee. A lot of teachers that come from other districts and work in Sycamore now are saying they want to go on the DC trip. So we are flooded with the amount of teachers that want to be on this trip because everybody knows how special it is to take 8th graders to DC. And so I think in our heart of hearts, we know that this is kind of the right move to make.
Well, and do you remember when you first sat down with me, Mrs. Shunk, when you were hired? And didn't Mr. Cole start with you that same year?
Yep.
What was the number one thing that you were given to accomplish for the junior high?
My number one task was to make it fun, make junior high fun.
That's right.
So, and we really believe that. We want kids to want to be here. But also, for those of you who don't know, 8th grade is the year that kids study American history. And so it all kind of comes to life. And the fact that Mr. Cole had the vision to set this up in the fall means that they're going to have context for their entire year of social studies now. And so it's really cool. So yes, Mr. Lewis, it is fun, but it's also highly educational.
It sounds like fun. And I mean, I didn't know fun was going to turn into Flamingo Fridays where we're dressed up as flamingos. But hey, I didn't give you too many guardrails on what fun looked like. So took it to a whole nother level there. Since we're on the topic of classes, Mr. Cole, firing at you again. People are coming at you hard today. Is advanced art being offered next year at Green?
Advanced art is not being offered next year at Green. By offering art, and that brings us into alignment with what happens at the elementary school and at the junior high. So that was a big issue. We were looking at the process for how students identified interest, how they were selected, how that class was different. And so there was a group of students who had art 2 days a week, and the other students enrolled in art had art 1 day a week. And so what we've done is that we're not going to run advanced art, but we've switched art to a 2-day-a-week elective. And so now all students who are enrolled in art are going to have art for the same amount of time they would have for PE or for music or for STEAM or for flight, because we kind of believe that more art is better. And so it was really in support of more students being exposed so that if that was a passion, if it was an interest that they had, that they could explore it. One of the great opportunities is all that work that our art teachers did over the years in that advanced art program, they can still use that. You know, Ms. Shunk used the term differentiation earlier, is that we have the ability in an art class to provide a prompt, and students can approach that from wherever their interest is, whatever their skill level is. And so, you know, we're really excited just to have more kids have more art so that they can explore those interests. So that was kind of the driving factor.
So to piggyback on the DC trip, the question is, why are we not asking for parent chaperones? Because there are people that would love to come on the trip.
I know, it's a great trip. At this point, we are not in need of parent chaperones because we have so many teacher chaperones. And so we would prefer, I don't want to say prefer, but we want to be able to utilize that staff, you know, those relationships and build relationships with kids in a different way. Our staff is trained. We know a lot of kids that are going to be going on the trip. And so it makes more sense that we can utilize the staff that we have available to us that want to attend than to utilize parent chaperones at this point. If our numbers get high enough, numbers will dictate a lot of it. We may need to change that. You know, we're not opposed to it. Just at this point in time, we have enough teacher chaperones that we do not need parent chaperones. I will say there's a mother who approached me and said that she's going to DC and she's going to have a girls' weekend at a hotel, and any other parent is welcome to go. So it's kind of a nice way to be near your kid, but still enjoy some mom time or dad time or family time on your own and doing your own thing. So that's always an option as well. I'm sure there's a group of families who would want to travel together.
Mrs. Shunk, as the parent of a incoming 8th grader, what happens if the student does not want to go on the trip? What can they expect to be involved in at school as a 8th grader that may not want to go on this special trip?
Yeah, that's a great question. We haven't made it that far yet in planning. You know, I think it would depend on how many students are enrolled. So, you know, the days that we're gone are going to be normal school days. But, you know, I think that if there's a large number of eighth graders that are out, you know, maybe we plan something local for the students that aren't attending. We could do some other type of enrichment opportunity for those students, but we haven't made it that far yet. And I don't know that it makes sense to make those plans now until we have a better idea of how many students we're looking at being out of the building.
Great. A comment that came in, which is always nice to hear. Thanks to all the administrators on the call. Really enjoyed this session and learned a lot, and have a great rest of your week. So, any final questions before we adjourn for the evening? I always like to end on a very positive note. So, can the three of you just, I would love you to describe something that you're really proud of, a recent student accomplishment, or something in your building that you're really proud of that maybe the community doesn't know about that we should share with them. Dr. Crenshaw, you've talked in a while. We're going with you.
I needed more thinking time, or for my colleagues to text me and give me my hint.
We'll go back with Greg then. He was ready to talk, so we'll go to Greg.
I tried to give wait time. I know I'm a heavy talker, so I was trying to give my colleagues an opportunity. You know, you said that something that the community might not be aware of. We just had a couple of recent public successes, and so I'm gonna stick with those. The Sycamore musical last weekend was absolutely amazing. If you didn't get a chance to see the show, we have students out there who are 10 years old, right, who are memorizing the lines, the dances, all the hours of work, and the work that Sanderson and her staff did in the beautiful new junior high theater. I was sitting there as a principal. I do have a son who's at the junior high who's into performance theater, and so we go to all the shows, and just sitting there thinking how lucky we are to have groups of students and adults willing to work with them and the spaces to make it happen. And my wife's family recently moved into the district, and so this was really their first time to have a firsthand view on what Sycamore productions are like, and I think that some of us just get used to the amazing productions, and being able to watch it through their eyes the first time was just a great reminder. And so that was super, it was very fulfilling to see all the work, and just to see the kids in the new space, living out a different part of their life than we typically get to see in the hallways. It was amazing.
Dr. Crenshaw?
We just had an amazing cabaret at the high school, and we got to see our students showcasing their amazing talents. And we also have upcoming Mamma Mia. So please come join us at the high school. I believe it's the 24th through the 26th. If it lines up Thursday to Saturday, that is correct. So please come out and join us so that you can see our amazing students.
Good one. Mrs. Shunk?
Yeah, I think one of the things that doesn't get celebrated as much as it should are all of our clubs and activities that we offer students. Just this week, we kicked off our Black Student Union and had a large number of students after school today participating in that. And our Gay and Straight Alliance Club and our Power of the Pen Club, our robotics club. There is literally something for every single kid. And to see the amount of kids that just want to be in our space after school and interacting with each other and just feel included, it makes me really, really proud to be the principal here. Because we have an awesome community of learners that just want to support each other. And when kids are excited to spend more time at school, it is the greatest feeling in the world. And so I'm just really, really proud of the work that our advisors do to create safe spaces for kids.
So a couple other questions that came in. Why has there been such turnover in high school administration in the last few years? I would say, anytime that we have turnover, there's good reason. Sometimes it's people have been in jobs for a long time and they're ready to move on to a new challenge. Sometimes there might be a difference in philosophy. Sometimes it could just be that it's a good opportunity that comes along somewhere else and they're ready for a new challenge somewhere else. So, I don't look at this as turnover is not a bad thing. It's an opportunity to take your next step. And lots of conversations over the years about turnover and fit and, building the right team. And so, I always look at anytime we lose someone, it's sad, but it's also an opportunity to continue to build our team. So we love the team that we have here at Sycamore. We have by far one of the best administrative teams in the state, if not the nation. And, when people choose to leave it, we wish them well. We support them from afar. Once an aviator, always an aviator. But sometimes there are opportunities that we have to change and go a different direction. So that's part of any job. That's any, I don't think there's a district in the area that's not having some turnover of some kind. So thanks for the question, though. We really appreciate it. Now, the last and final question, since it's 1 minute to go, what is the favorite part of your role for each of you? What's your favorite part?
This is an easy one. The kids. Oh my gosh, our days are never boring. The kids, parents, for those of you that are on here, your children are amazing and they make my day absolutely so much fun. And I wouldn't want to be in different place. They are the best of the best, and you should be very, very proud of your kids.
Can only echo that. Absolutely, the students, building relationships with them, seeing them grow through everything, the good, the bad. Students, they have fun, and so they help keep us young throughout each and every day. So it's absolutely the unknown of what they get to teach us day in and day out.
Obviously, I'll echo the students. I'm gonna add on that this year I've gotten a chance to know the Green School staff better, and you know a group of people by their reputation. Getting to work with them every single day and seeing the care and passion that they have for the kids, and getting a chance to sit and talk with them and hear what they're excited about, the successes that they have with the kids, like that, is very fulfilling. Just to see that somebody is better close up than you had the chance to get to know them from afar. And so that has been, for this year, uniquely different, just getting to know new staff, and it's been amazing.
I will say, just joining in with the team here, the student relationships absolutely are special, but I'll go just a hair deeper. Being a guy that used to be a background guy, and when you're not the principal of a building, I'm a little jealous of the relationships that they get to have. So when I was in operations or in the assistant superintendent role, it really stunk. You're the golf clap guy at graduation. Nobody knows who you are. They're just like, yay, Mr. Lewis is there. And, or you walk through the building and they're like, who's that guy? What's he doing here? They do ask a lot of funny questions. Usually at elementary school, they ask a lot of funny questions. I will say now, it is my absolute favorite to walk into a building and be recognized by kids, and they ask you to come sit with them at lunch and talk, or hey, come visit our table, tell us what's going on. I think those things are special, but I'll throw two things past the students. We love you as parents. We love the support that you give us and the support you give our school district. It's amazing to see 40 and 50 people take off from the night tonight and join us for this call to learn more. And our staff are really amazing. So they're doing great things with your kids. So please take a moment every once in a while to just say thank you to them and to these great individuals on the call. They take great care and give a lot of concern to your children, even sometimes at the detriment of their own, peace and quiet in the evening. So I see a couple of them are still sitting at school, so they need to get home and get to their families. But we appreciate everything that everyone does. And again, we appreciate you being on this call. A big thank you to the high school team. Dr. Crenshaw, thank you for holding it down for the high school team. Mrs. Shunk, wonderful. I'm looking forward to the next Flamingo Friday. And Mr. Cole, you have to start your own tradition at Green. So take care, everyone. Have a great evening. And as always, go Aves.